Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you a green chili casserole. Gluten-free, of course. Casseroles are such a great way to feed a lot of people. Or if you have a small family, you can eat it for 2 or 3 days if you don't mind leftovers. I actually really enjoy leftovers. But this casserole is so fast and easy to put together. And really not very many ingredients go into this at all. Of course, I've adapted it to be gluten-free, which really the only thing that is needed to make it gluten-free is a cream soup of some kind. This is a jar of my gluten-free cream of mushroom soup. I have a video here on my channel of this soup, and it's also in my cookbook. You could also use cream of celery, cream of chicken. It doesn't really matter, your favorite cream soup. Even though this casserole has ground beef in it, you don't really notice if you use a cream of chicken soup. So really, any cream soup works well. And if you don't make your own and you have a gluten-free store-bought version, that will work too. And then of course, green chilies, onions, garlic. I've got some sour cream. I've got some ground beef over here. Corn tortillas, which corn tortillas are gluten-free. At least this particular brand. And this is the size that I prefer. I know you could get them a little bit smaller and possibly a little bit bigger, but this is the size that I like. And you'll need 12 tortillas for this recipe. It all fits in a 9x13 casserole, and so you layer 6 on the bottom, and then your filling, and then 6 more, and then top it with cheese. Which I have 2 different kinds of cheese that I'll be grating, but not yet. So they're still in the fridge. And what we used to do growing up is you would take your corn tortillas, and they are ready to eat like this right now. You could slightly warm them up, but what we used to do is you would heat up some oil in a frying pan and lightly fry them until they were crispy. I don't fry them anymore, so what I do is I put them on a cooling rack just like this. I've got one right here, and I can do 6 at a time, and I put them under the broiler. You don't want them to burn, but I like them to be really crispy. And so I'll broil them on one side, flip them over, broil on the other side, and then let them cool on a cooling rack while I do the other 6. And it doesn't matter if they're hot, but I like for them to cool off enough and dry out a little bit so they're extra crispy. It sounds kind of contradictory to get these really crispy just to put them in a casserole with a hot filling that will make them soggy. But if they start out really crispy, they hold up better than if you put them in just like this. So I'm going to start broiling my tortillas. And I've got my napkin and my cutting board. And even though my cream of mushroom soup has onions and garlic in it, I am going to add extra onions and garlic to my ground beef. And that is for my garlic. And I just have 2 cloves. You could put as many as you want. Don't forget about your tortillas. And I don't mind, maybe you can't see that. I don't mind if they're a little bit dark brown. Keep an eye on your tortillas. In about the time you can peel your onion and your garlic, your first tray of tortillas are nice and crispy. I don't mind if they're brown like this. Of course, you don't want them black. And now for the other 6 tortillas. And don't worry if you don't have a cooling rack. You can just put them on the cookie sheet. It works the same way either way. I prefer the cooling rack. That way they really get some good airflow to get them really crispy. And if you've seen my chicken enchilada recipe, that recipe uses my homemade gluten-free flour tortillas. But I've made my chicken enchiladas using this exact same method before. I get my corn tortillas really crispy, and then I just layer them in the pan with the chicken enchilada filling. That works really good too. That recipe is also in my cookbook and a video here on my channel. And the reason I'm talking and not chopping yet is I don't want my tortillas to burn. And I think I might get a little distracted chopping. But you can also make this recipe with shredded beef. You don't have to use ground beef. Ground beef is faster and easier. It really makes a weeknight dinner come together so fast. And of course, you could make a cream beef soup if you wanted to. That would be an idea as well. While my last batch of tortillas is finishing toasting, I'm just going to say thank you guys so much for watching my videos. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for making my recipes. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like button and like my video. That really helps my video reach other people. And the biggest thank you of all to my patrons. And if you're interested in becoming a patron, the link for that is below in my description box. So is my Instagram link, which many of you share with me on Instagram, recipes that you've made, fun little comments here and there. It's so nice to get to know you guys on Instagram. So if you want to follow me there, again, that link is below. Some of you have shared on Facebook. Thank you so much for sharing my recipes and my channel with other people. It's so amazing to me how many people all across the world I can reach and share delicious recipes, whether you're gluten-free or not. But thank you so much for being here and watching my videos. And for these tortillas, I'm just going to leave them right here on the cooling rack. I'm going to flip them over. Super crispy. Again, you could fry these in oil and get them really crispy. But I don't really like to have the extra grease, but this works really well. So I've turned off the broiler and I've turned my oven on to 350. So now I can get chopping up my onions and garlic, and my oven is already ready. There's my onions and my garlic all cut up. And then I've got 2 cans. These are 7-ounce cans of diced green chilies. And they are mild. This recipe is really basic and simple by itself. But it leaves the door open that you can add whatever you want. You could add a can of diced tomatoes to go with your cream soup and green chilies. You could add 1 can of jalapenos instead of green chilies and make it really spicy. You could add in other vegetables. There's so many possibilities. If you're making a really big batch of soup, you could make this whole filling mixture with the soup and put it in the freezer. You don't want to freeze the casserole with the tortillas. They get soggy that way. But you could freeze the filling, and then whenever you want this casserole, just pull that filling mixture out of the freezer, toast your corn tortillas, throw it in a dish, and you're ready to go. I love meals that you can really get them prepared ahead of time and save yourself a lot of time in the kitchen. Of course, if you don't work while you talk, that doesn't save you any time in the kitchen at all. I'm really good at talking and not working. So I'm going to turn on my skillet to about medium-high and get my ground beef cooking. And then I'll add in my onions and garlic. I also have, about a half a teaspoon of salt and pepper. You could add none or as much as you'd like. It's really to taste. And while that is heating up and cooking, I'm going to start grating my cheese. So I had about a 4-ounce chunk of cheddar cheese that I'm grating. And then I have an 8-ounce brick of pepper jack cheese. And that will be the cheese that we'll layer in with our casserole. You could use whatever cheese that you like. If I don't add jalapenos into the filling, I really like the pepper jack cheese to give it some extra spice. If green chilies are something that you grow in your garden, it's such an easy way to make your own diced green chilies. I actually did that one year. And that might be a lot more cheddar cheese than we need, but it's all right. It will also have some onion garlic flavor from being on the cutting board. And that's just fine too. If you have another spice that you would like to add into this, It really is so versatile. You can add your favorite spices. Let's call that 8 ounces of cheddar cheese, which I actually think it's even more than 8 ounces. But I've never complained about extra cheese. Okay, there's all of our cheese. Once your ground beef looks like this, where it's almost all the way cooked, add in your onions, sprinkle on some salt and pepper, stir those around, get them really mixed in and sauteed. We can add in the garlic. Give this a really good stir. Add in your 2 cans of green chilies. And again, stir this around. Get everything really combined. Add in your 1 jar of cream of mushroom soup. And don't worry that my cream of mushroom soup looks a little bit chunky and separated. That's what happens when you freeze it. Once it starts heating up, it all comes back together. Stir this together really well. Pour in your 1 cup of sour cream. And again, give it a really good stir. And now we're going to let this simmer for just a couple of minutes. My ground beef mixture has been simmering, I'd say for a good 4 minutes or so. So I turned it off and I'm taking it off the heat just to bring it closer to me. Bring everything a little bit closer here. So I've got a 9x13 pan. It's not greased. You don't have to grease it. It doesn't really stick. So I just layer in 6 of my tortillas and they're gonna overlap, which is just fine. And you see they're pretty crispy. Bring my casserole dish even closer. If you had toasted more tortillas, you could get more than 1 layer out of this. And then I just spread it out, make sure it's getting evenly covered before I pour on the rest. And now that it's less full, I can pick up my pan and pour in the rest. Spread that out. And now we'll go a layer of cheese. And now the rest of our corn tortillas. And now the last of our cheese. Do a better job of making it evenly distributed. Okay, that looks really good. If you had some fresh cilantro, you could sprinkle that on top. Into the oven for about 30 minutes. I love it when the cheese gets like this on the top. So you want to let this rest for just a few minutes. I mean, you could cut into it now, but it's kind of like lasagna. If you cut into it too soon, it will just slide apart. But usually by tomorrow, after having sat in the fridge, it does hold a slice. But it looks so good, and it smells really good. And my tortillas are a little bit softer, but they still are a little bit crunchy. And you don't really need a knife, but I'm using one just to cut through that bottom layer and the top layer of tortillas, just to make it easy. And then very carefully get all the way to the bottom. It looks so good. And it's not oozing completely, but I try and squish back the filling just so the next person that gets a piece has filling in between their tortillas. And I like to put on a little bit of extra sour cream. You could put hot sauce. I'm going with salsa today. It's really hot. So good. If tomatoes were in season and you had made a homemade pico de gallo, that would be perfect on top of this. And it's really nothing fancy at all, but such a good hearty meal. And these heat up so well the next day too. These make really good leftovers. And my tortillas, they're not super crispy like when they first went in. The top ones are a little bit more crunchy than the bottom. But if you had put them in before you toasted them, they get really soft and almost disintegrate into the filling. This way, there is a distinction between the tortilla layer and your meat filling. But such a great dinner. Let me know if you ever had a casserole like this growing up, or maybe this is something new to you and you'll try it out. Let me know what you think. Casseroles were such a big part of my childhood. On a regular basis, we always had casseroles. It's such a fast, easy way to serve a lot of people. But this would also go really great with a side of rice and beans, or any kind of green vegetable on the side. I know it doesn't sound like, green beans or something would go well with this, but hey, a well-rounded meal, whatever you want. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button if you've made it this far into the video. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.